Well, we're hearing a lot about the situation in the UK, especially in the universities, and how much transmission of COVID-19 has been going on. And I thought this was a good chance to join our fellow reporter here at MTTV, who is at university at Keele. Mark O'Connor is joining us. In isolation, Mark, or not?
I am in isolation, yes. I've been in isolation since yesterday. My sort of partner tested positive for coronavirus, so as a result, I've been put into self-isolation for 14 days.
And you've already had a test a few weeks ago because you had another scare, didn't you, I think?
Yeah, I've had a few scares. I had a test about 2-3 weeks ago, which was negative. After the coronavirus app told me to self-isolate and get a test, I then got tested and it turned out to be negative. So it's been quite a different experience from that on the Isle of Man. It's been very, very different, as it has been for many Manx students returning back to their studies in the UK.
Okay, by the way, you sound a bit croaky, you know that, don't you? You sure you're okay?
I hope not.
On a serious note, there's an issue here about returning to the Isle of Man. I mean, there's a lot of people are asking this question because I think you break up quite late anyway, so it's going to be quite difficult, isn't it, to get back, do 2 weeks quarantine, and then head almost straight back to university?
Well, look, at the end of the day, we're living with this virus. I'm at Keele. We break up on the 18th of December, which is quite late comparatively. I know of, speaking to some students that my sort of peers that are from the Isle of Man, either they've already headed back. I know one person who headed back the other week. He's currently in self-isolation because they put Lancashire, where he's at, into tier 3 restrictions. So he was like, sod this, I'm off. And I think many students, I think the Dr. Allen said this in the press conference, and he is right. I don't think there's going to be this huge sort of influx of students all in one weekend. And I think roughly there's 1,000 probably-ish students probably away in the UK at different levels of study. I would have thought so, or maybe just a bit under that, but around that sort of figure. But yeah, I don't think there's going to be this huge sort of influx of students all at once to the Isle of Man.
And what's your feeling? Do you think that this sort of now the herd immunity is going to sort of kick in because so many students appear to be getting it, especially Newcastle hearing and other places like that? Do you think? And for yourself, do you think there is a future at university this term, a real actual meeting and talking to your tutors?
Well, without getting too political, the UK government was like, yeah, come back, come back to university. It's all going to be fine. Pay for your accommodation. It's all going to be great. And then a week in, everyone then gets COVID. It's all in lockdown. It's all done online. And that's sort of what's happened really. We've had this ridiculous situation where students have been told, yeah, come back to university, but then for it all to be done online pretty much. Like for myself, I've only got 2 hours a week in person for an hour.
2 hours a week? You might as well be back here in the Isle of Man then doing it, I guess. Almost.
Well, that is the point. And like what I was just saying there about students, there is a feeling, I think, amongst Manx students particularly, that I think coming back to the Isle of Man is probably a good move, a good step forward. The whole of the UK is in a very different situation to that of the Isle of Man, as I just outlined. And it's a tricky time. It's a very tricky time at the moment, absolutely.
You're in your last university, so this is a big year, and the changes must be just seismic. Is it Freshers' Week, though, and the new intake that sort of, we hear the stories about going to university, and they're maybe more likely, shall we say, to be interacting very specially with other people? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think I know the sort of line you're going down. Yeah, it's a very strange one. So the typical freshers experience, that of partying, going out, meeting people, etc., obviously has not happened this year. We've had I've heard anecdotally many situations where basically people, they can't mix outside of their household, of their flat. So you can be in your first year of study, put into a flat, you don't know any of these people, and that's it. You're sort of stuck there in a way. And if you don't get on, well, it's not a great experience. And it's been very different. I see at Keele, we've got quite a large student union. Our typical capacity is well in excess of over 2,500 probably total. That's now been limited to about 500 total, all seated. We've been quite lucky. We've had some good events on. We had Russell Kane, the comedian, come. We've had Reginald D. Hunter come as well, some comedians. We've had some acts. But it's been very difficult. We're quite limited in what we do. I work at the student union in the entertainments department, so it's been quite interesting seeing and adapting to the new Freshers' Week, so to speak. Yeah.
And what sort of precautions do your university? I'm sure others will be following the same sort of line. I mean, are you being routinely tested at the university?
No. So Keele's got its own testing facility on campus. So Keele students can get a test. It's a walk-in centre. There's no routine testing as such. At the moment, it's quite simply just if you have symptoms, follow the NHS guidance. Although the university has said there's been quite a few accommodation blocks been put into lockdown, and they've all been told to self-isolate and get a test. It is spreading throughout the university, like it is at many other universities, and it's kind of expected in a way, given the demographic. And it's hard to police. At the end of the day, it's very difficult to police this. And when you look at what is actually going through the courts in the UK, it's predominantly the larger parties. It's the £10,000 fines. We don't live in a police state where we can check if you've got more than 6 people sitting in your kitchen. We don't live in that kind of country. We hope people are morally responsible to do the right thing and stick to the rules. And I think on the whole, students are.
Explain your lockdown though. I mean, are you just in one room, in your house, you're showing other people, or how much movement do you get?
Yeah, so I've been put into lockdown since yesterday, and my partner tested positive. I, as yet, don't have symptoms, so therefore I'm not eligible for a test. The rules at the moment is, as soon as I start to display symptoms, that's when they then need to start self-isolating as well. And of course, at the moment, there's a big hinting at the time I'm recording this, obviously, with the self-isolation rules on the Isle of Man, with that being touted now as changing to accommodate basically if everyone in the household self-isolates if somebody returns from the UK, regardless if they have symptoms or not, which is obviously the current guidance. But it's difficult. I've done self-isolation twice now. This is my third attempt now, twice on the Isle of Man.
And funny, I mean, is it almost a thing to feel like, because you've got youth on your side, and we always hear that it's really affecting the older people and vulnerable people? It's almost like a feeling like, I might as well go and get it, and then I can get it out of the way almost.
Look, I think that's pretty much a political football, to be quite honest. I think at the end of the day, we're living in a pandemic. Everyone's got their part to play. My partner, they've got it, and basically they just have a slight loss of smell, a slight loss of taste. No other symptoms. They're absolutely fine today. So it's one of these things. I think it's a political football. Many times people say, "Oh yeah, it's fine. Or you can go and get it." I think most of the studies have actually demonstrated that herd immunity. There's some evidence that it works. I'm obviously not any kind of expert in this, but on the whole, I think preventative measures actually work better. And at the end of the day, when all said and done, we're all here, still alive, hopefully, all happy. Students are all good. And you just got to take care and take the right precautions, and we'll all get through this. That's what I think, anyway.